Okay, now let's look at an example, a cost example. See, the previous example was a profit example. So the same set of criteria, but now it'll be based on cost. Suppose we have a decision to make in terms of what machine we want to purchase. This is from your textbook. Okay, you have three possible alternative decisions, A, B, and C. And the demand for number of copies, okay, is either 10,000, 100, 10,000, 20,000, or 30,000. Okay, under these scenarios, our cost is going to vary. So, and that those costs are, okay, so those are the costs, right? So now if you're going to use optimistic criterion, so now these are costs, so you're going to now assume that whatever decision you make, the best possible outcome will occur. So best possible outcome for cost problem is minimum. So you have min, right? And that should be min. So the minimum of the minimum is what you're going to use. So that would be your optimistic criterion. The best possible outcome is what you're going to have. All right. So I'm going to copy the decision formula from before. Okay. So that, well, it's because there are three. So three states of nature. So E is not the lookup range for our match. So change that, then it'll be all right. Okay, and let's for align it to the right. Okay, next is pessimistic. Pessimistic, now let's populate the costs here. All right, pessimistic will be what? Maximum, right? So the worst thing is going to happen. And so in these three alternatives, the least of the worst. So this will be mini max. Okay, so you're going to choose the alternative that is least in terms of outcome. So again, copy that. All right, so now we're going to look at the degree of optimism. So that's our financial information. So I'm going to just copy from here the best possible outcome and the worst possible outcome for each decision. All right. And the degree of optimism is 0.7 and 0.3, and make sure that this is 1 minus that. Otherwise, when you do a sensitivity table, this won't change properly. So now do sum product of that with the optimism, degree of optimism, coefficient of realism. So we need to absolute reference that. Okay. Now we have the weighted average. Now we want the minimum. Okay. So now the decision is, of course, when you copy, our match range is going to be different for this case. So we have to change it to that. Okay. All right. So next, let's do a sensitivity analysis. Okay, let's assume that we're going to look at alpha going from 0.1 to 0.9 like what we did here. So we did 0.1 to 1, but we'll do 0.1 to 0.9 here. All right. And then we want the weighted average and then the decision. Alright, so now we're going to do a data table, so we have to start from that corner and cover the two columns. Do data, what if analysis, data table, and column input cell. So this is a column and that should go here. Okay, and for that to work, remember this should be 1 minus that cell, otherwise it won't work. Alright, so we have the decisions under different degrees of optimism. Alright, so let's format this a little bit. Okay, so let's move this up, and this is cost and decision. Okay, and we will hide this.